The rain hammered the tin roof like machine gun fire, dragging me back to Nam in an instant. Back to the jungle where I'd buried brothers under red mud and whispered prayers to a god who never answered. But this wasn't Kisan. This was my kitchen in rural Ohio, and the voice cracking across the Formica table wasn't a plea for mercy. It was my son, Braden, saying, "Dad, I'm gay." Those 3 words hit harder than any mortar round, splintering the lie I'd armored myself with for 40 years. That freedom I'd bled for overseas meant jack shit if I couldn't claim my own. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips, the steam curling up like ghosts from a foxhole. Braden, my boy, all lanky limbs and that mop of chestnut hair he'd inherited from his mother, stared at me with eyes wide as saucers, bracing for the explosion he must have imagined. 25 years old, fresh out of the Marines himself, and here he was, laying his soul bare in the house where I'd raised him to be tough, to be straight, to be the man I pretended to be. "Say something, Dad," he whispered, his voice a razor on silk. "Please." I set the mug down, the clink echoing like a spent shell casing. Outside, the storm from Lake Erie was unleashing hell, wind whipping the old maple tree against the window like it wanted in. Inside, the air thickened with the scent of burnt toast and unspoken sins. I'd always known this day might come, not for him but for me. Braden was the spitting image of the kid I'd been at his age. Curious, fierce, hiding a fire that could burn the world if you let it. But I'd snuffed mine out long ago, right after I came home from the war in '72. A purple heart pinned to my chest and a secret gnawing at my gut. Back then, the draft had yanked me from this very farm, 19 and cocky, shipping me off to a rice paddy hell where freedom was just a word scrawled on dog tags. I fought for it, though, fought like a demon, humping gear through monsoons, calling in airstrikes on shadows that turned out to be villages. And in the quiet hours, when the fear clawed deepest, there was Ramirez. We never spoke of it, not outright, just stolen glances over MREs, a hand steadying a shoulder that lingered too long, the brush of knuckles in the dark of a hooch. He was from LA, all easy smiles and olive skin, the kind of guy who made the jungle feel less like a grave. One night, after a firefight that left half our platoon in body bags, he pulled me aside behind a berm, his breath hot against my ear. "We're alive, Danny. That's gotta count for something." His lips grazed mine, tentative as a truce, and for 5 seconds, I tasted what it meant to be whole. But Ramirez didn't make it back. Sniper round through the throat, gone before the medic could blink. I buried that kiss with him, deep in the Mekong Delta, and when I stepped off the plane at Travis AFB, I swore I'd never dig it up. America wasn't ready for heroes like us, not the ones who loved wrong. So I married Ellen, the girl next door with her apple pie laugh and steady hands. Built this life brick by brick. The farm, the kids, the Sunday barbecues where I'd grill burgers and dodge questions about the war. Ellen knew something was off. Always had, in the way I'd flinch at her touch or stare too long at the young farmhands baling hay. But she chalked it up to PTSD, and I let her. Braden came along first, then his sister Mia, and for a while the routine dulled the ache. Freedom? I'd fought for everyone else's, but mine stayed locked in a footlocker under the bed, gathering dust beside my faded discharge papers. That night, as the rain eased to a drizzle, Braden and I sat there until the clock ticked past midnight. "I met someone," he said finally, unfolding like a flag at half-mast. "His name's Adrian. We're serious." Adrian, Korean war vet's grandson, barista at the coffee shop in town, with tattoos snaking up his arms like vines and a laugh that could thaw February ice. I'd seen them together once at the county fair. Braden's hand on Adrian's waist, easy as breathing, while the Ferris wheel spun lazy circles against a cotton candy sky. Jealousy hit me then, sharp as shrapnel. Not of them, but of what they had, what I'd thrown away. "I love you, son," I managed, my voice gravel from disuse. "That doesn't change a damn thing." He crumpled then, not in tears, but in relief, lunging across the table to hug me like I was the last buoy in a flood. Ellen walked in just then, her robe clutched tight, eyes red from whatever worry had kept her awake. She didn't say a word, just wrapped her arms around us both, the three of us a tangled knot of flannel and forgiveness. But as they pulled away, I caught the flicker in her gaze. the question she'd buried deeper than I ever had. "What about you, Dan?" The weeks that followed were a minefield. Braden brought Adrian around more, the two of them filling the house with a lightness I'd forgotten existed. Adrian was all quiet strength, with a fade haircut and a habit of quoting MLK over breakfast. "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He'd lost his own dad young to Agent Orange complications, and we bonded over war stories, the ones that didn't scar. One evening, as we fixed the tractor in the barn, grease up to our elbows, he turned to me with that steady gaze. "Braden says you saved lives over there. Hero shit." I snorted, wiping sweat from my brow. "Heroes don't come home to hide." He paused, socket wrench in hand. "Hiding's a choice, Mr. Hargrove, but coming out, that's the real fight." His words landed like a gut punch, echoing Ramirez's ghost. That night, alone in the den with a tumbler of bourbon, I pulled out the old footlocker. Faded photos spilled out. Me and Ramirez, arms slung casual, grins wide under steel pots. A letter from him, creased 1,000 times. "Miss you already, Danny. Stay free." My hands shook as I traced the ink, the dam cracking after decades. Betrayal came swift as an ambush. Mia, Braden's sister, overheard me on the phone with a VA counselor, mumbling about identity and suppressed trauma. She was 22, home from college for break, all fire and judgment from her evangelical sorority. "Dad's a fag?" she hissed to Ellen over the phone. I caught it from the hallway, the words slicing like bayonet. By morning, she'd rallied the extended family. Aunts, uncles, the whole Bible-thumping brigade from church. They descended on the farm like a convoy, cars kicking up dust on the gravel drive, faces pinched with righteous fury. "You're destroying us?" Mia spat in the living room, Bible clutched like a grenade. "What kind of example is this for Braden? For the family?" Ellen stood frozen by the fireplace, her loyalty fracturing before my eyes. I'd always been her rock, the provider, the patriot, but now I was the fracture line. Uncle Ray, red-faced from cheap whiskey, jabbed a finger. "You fought commies, Dan, not this perversion. What would your daddy say?" The room spun, ghosts of Nam crowding in. The screams, the smoke, the boy I'd loved turned to memory. Braden exploded then, Adrian at his side like a shield. "This is about Dad's truth, not yours. You think war was hell? Try living a lie for 40 years. Fists clenched, voices rising, it built to a roar. Plates shattering in the kitchen when Mia hurled one, glass spraying like frag. I stepped forward, heart pounding like incoming fire, and for the first time, I didn't duck. "Enough!" My voice boomed, raw and unfiltered. "I crossed oceans for your freedoms, the right to love who you love without apology. I lost friends to that fight, good men who deserved better than silence. And yeah, Mia, I'm gay. Been since before you were born. I hid it to keep this family whole, but whole ain't stitched with secrets." The silence after was deafening, broken only by Ellen's sob. She crossed the room, not to me, but to Mia, pulling her close. "He's still your father, baby. Our rock." But the betrayal lingered in her eyes, the years she'd given to a man who couldn't fully give back. Adrian squeezed Braden's shoulder, whispering something that steadied him, and in that moment, I saw my own second chance reflected. Two young men building what I'd deferred. They left in a convoy of slammed doors and revving engines. Mia's glare the last shrapnel. The farm felt hollow after, but in the wreckage, something bloomed. Ellen and I talked for hours under the stars, her hand in mine. Not as lovers, but survivors. "Go find your truth, Dan," she said, voice steady as Ohio soil. "We've got our own." Divorce papers came quiet, amicable, with shared custody of the grandkids we'd one day have. Braden and Adrian moved into the guest house, turning it into a haven of laughter and takeout Thai. Adrian's sketches of veteran memorials papering the walls. The climax hit on Memorial Day, under a sky bruised purple over the county cemetery. I'd driven to Cleveland, nerves jangling like loose dog tags, to meet a group Ramirez had mentioned once. A quiet network of old vets, living free in ways we'd only dreamed. Adrian came with me, Braden's blessing in his pocket. A silver dog tag engraved truth or bust. The bar was dim, all wood panel and neon. filled with faces like mine. Lined, laughing, hands clasped without shame. And there, nursing a bud, was him. Not Ramirez, but close enough in spirit. Tom, silver fox with a sailor's squint and stories from the same hill. We talked till closing, words flowing like the Cuyahoga. War, loss, the ache of what-ifs. When he leaned in, tentative as that night in the jungle, I didn't pull away. His kiss was salt and second chances, under the glow of a jukebox crooning Springsteen. Born to run. Back home, Braden waited on the porch, Adrian beside him, a six-pack chilling in the cooler. "How'd it go, Dad?" my son asked, grin splitting wide. "Like coming up for air," I said, pulling them both into a hug. The rain held off that night, stars pricking the black like fireflies over the fields. Freedom wasn't the flag I'd saluted or the battles I'd won. It was this. A son who dared first, a love rediscovered, a family reforged in honesty. I'd fought for it abroad, but here, in the heartland's quiet pulse, I finally claimed it. Not perfect, not without scars, but whole. God bless America and all the truths it took to get here.